Hi, I'm Gerald Beasley. I want to congratulate you on your purchase of the Ibanez Jumpstart Bass package. During this DVD, I'm going to be showing you a lot of things to help you get started on your way to making music, including bass lines, some scales, some technical tips, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun, so get ready. Let's get started now by learning the parts to the bass. This is very important that you know what all the individual parts that make up this instrument, know what they are. You have two main parts really, and that's the neck and the body. Now I'll show you the individual parts to the instrument. At the end of the neck is the headstock. That holds the tuning gears. And on this bass you have 4 tuning gears. These are very important because they help tune the strings. If you turn a tuning gear this way and tighten it, the string or the sound of the string gets higher. If you turn it the other way, it gets lower. That's how the tuning gears are used. Next you have the nut, which holds the strings in place. Then you have the neck itself that has a fretboard or fingerboard on top of it with individual frets. These are the lines that I'm pointing to on the fretboard. And then you have position markers on the fretboard. They help you know where you are on the instrument. Then on the body of the bass, the strings are connected to the body by this at the end called the bridge. The bridge anchors the strings to the body. Then you have 2 pickups on this bass. Pickup does what it sounds like it does. It picks up the sound that's made by the strings. And you have on this bass a neck pickup because it's close to the neck. And you have a bridge pickup because it's close to the bridge. You have 3 control knobs that do different things. This first knob is the volume control for the neck pickup. This middle knob is the volume control for the bridge pickup. And finally, this third knob is a tone control. This tone control is important because it can help shape the sound of your bass. If you turn it all the way clockwise and listen to the sound, you get somewhat of a bright or trebly sound. If you turn it the other way, counterclockwise, you're going to get a deeper or bassier tone. And you can use any kind of variation in between to get the sound that you like. At the bottom of the bass, you probably can't see it, but it's there. There's an input jack, and this is where you put the cable into the bass. So you can pick up the sound, or the signal goes from the bass out through the input jack, into the cable, and eventually to your amplifier. Then finally, on the body of the bass, you have 2 strap buttons, one here at the top and one at the bottom. This is where you're going to connect your strap to the instrument. So there you have it, the parts to the bass. In this next segment, we're going to talk about how you hold the bass. I like to use my strap when I'm sitting down. Now the strap you can adjust it, which is great because everybody's body is a little bit different. Some people need the strap a little bit longer, some need it shorter. For me, I like to position the strap for when I'm sitting down so that the bass is still just comfortably resting on the top of my leg. This curved part of the bass is resting right on the top of my leg. You can also sit playing the bass without your strap if you want to. And of course, you can stand up and play with the bass strapped on as well. So there are lots of, using the strap gives you a lot of variety. Now the way that the left and the right hand work are the left hand is more or less going up and down the neck, and I use it to finger the individual notes on the fretboard. So in this case what I'm doing is, let's look at this top string here. I'm going to place my first finger right next to the first fret and press. Now it's going to take a while before you actually get a good sound, but if you press hard enough you get a pretty good sound. Take your second finger and do the same thing on the next fret. Take your third finger, do the same thing on the next fret. And fourth finger on the 4th fret. Congratulations, you played your first song. It's not a great song, but you did it. Let's do the same thing on the other strings. On the next string, 1st fret, 1st finger, 2nd finger, 2nd fret, 3rd finger, 3rd fret, fourth finger, fourth fret. Let's move on to the next string. Great. Now, if this is difficult, don't get frustrated. It takes a while sometimes to get a sound that you really like, but you just keep practicing and it'll become easier and easier. Another thing you can do is this part of the bass, close to the headstock, sometimes is a little harder to press down. So if you find that a little too difficult, move on down to this part of the bass and try the same thing. Now there's something that you can't see, and I'm going to show you that right now. You can't really see what my thumb is doing. So I'm going to turn around so that you can see what the thumb is doing now. The thumb is behind the neck. And what it's doing is, it's behind the neck, sort of in the middle. Not too much over top of the neck and not too far down. Try not to push too hard on it. What we want to try to do is relax. It's going to take a while for that to develop, but that's really important. So we've dealt with the left hand. Let's see what the right hand does. I like to position my right forearm draped over the body of the bass nice and comfortably. My shoulders are relaxed. And I take my thumb and kind of anchor my hand on this neck pickup. Gives me a place to kind of to rest my thumb. Now what I'll do with the index finger is I'm going to play this top string, and then my finger will come to rest against the thumb. So the tip of the finger is attacking the string and it's coming to rest on the thumb. Let's move to this next string and do the same thing, only now the finger's going to come to rest on that top string. Let's move to the next string and do the same thing. And finally do that with the first string. Good. Now, what I like to do is typically play with the index finger and middle finger. So now let's move on to the middle finger. It'll basically do the same thing. When playing with the top string, the finger will come to rest against the thumb, which the thumb, once again, is resting on the neck pickup. Next string. Now the next thing that we'll do is we'll actually alternate using the first and second finger. Because as you get a little bit better, you'll find that the bass lines that you play, they'll sound a little bit better when you're alternating sometimes, and also you'll be able to play a little bit more quickly. So let's do that. We'll start with the index finger and then play the second finger alternating. 1, 2, 1, 2. We'll do it nice and slowly. On the top string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just stay on the top string for a minute. Let's move to the next string. And the next string. And the first string. Good. As you're practicing this little exercise, try to keep a nice steady rhythm. So you count yourself off, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just try to stay in that rhythm nice and slowly. Be patient with yourself as you're playing this little exercise. Now next, what I'm going to show you is using the pick. With your package came a trusty pick, and what the pick does, it enables you to get a slightly more focused sound or clearer sound, and that's kind of cool to use at times. We're going to place the pick between your thumb and your first finger. And let's go to the top string again, and we'll just move our hand down and play the string. Now that's a downstroke. You can also use an upstroke or up pick with the pick. And of course, you can alternate up and down. We're going to be playing some examples, but to make it a little easier to play those examples, you're going to be reading tablature. Now don't freak out because we're going to show you how to do that. So coming up on your screen now is a tablature chart. Now as you look at the chart, you'll notice some lines going from left to right. They represent the strings. The top line represents the skinniest or G string, and the bottom line represents the fat string or the E string. There are some numbers on the lines, and those represent the frets that are going to be played. The first number that you see is a 0. That means that you'll be playing an open string. Then the next number next to that is a 3, and that represents playing the 3rd fret. Underneath that 3 is another number. That's a 3, and that indicates the finger on the left hand that you're going to use to play the note. So let's review what numbers correspond with what fingers. The number 1 corresponds to the index finger. The number 2 is for the middle finger. The number 3 is for the ring finger. And the number 4 is for the pinky. So now you have what you need to get started to read tablature. All right, let's talk about tuning. Tuning is very important whether you're playing with a band or whether you're playing with a record or even playing alone. It's important to always be in tune. Now with your Jump Start kit, you have a tuner included. It has pretty easy directions to follow. But let's also use our ear to learn to tune. We'll tune the individual strings. First I'll give you the names of the strings. You have the E string on top. Then next to that is the A string, the D string, and the G string. Now what I want you to do is use your ear to see how close you are to the sound of my strings here, and then you'll turn your tuning pegs if you're not quite close enough to see if you can get close to the sounds of these strings to be in tune. Let's start with the E string. Let's go to the A string. The D string. And finally the G string. Great. By now you should be in tune. If you're not, don't get frustrated. It takes a while to get the sense of getting a string in tune. One more little tip about the names of the strings. One way that I've developed to remember the names of the strings is a kind of an easy little mnemonic device. EADG, Eat at Don's Grill. I don't know who Don is, but this always works for me. So there you have it. All right, let's have some fun playing some bass lines now. Got this bass line worked out for you that you're going to play. It's going to be all on the E string. And the first note, in fact, will be E. So let's remember what the E string is. Great. The next note that you'll be playing is on the 3rd fret, which is G. You'll play that with your first finger. Then the next note that you'll play will be A. That'll be on the 5th fret. You'll play that with your 3rd finger. Okay, did you find those notes? It should sound like this. Okay, let's put a little rhythm to that. I'll give you a count off. It'll be a 4-beat count off, and then we'll start playing. 1, 2, 3, 4. That sounds pretty good. Let's add another note. Let's go back to G. So we'll play the E, the G, the A, and back to the G. It's going to sound like this. I'll play it one time, then you play along. Okay, I'll count off 4 again and we'll do it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll stop on E. Very cool. Now if it feels a little awkward, once again, I keep emphasizing this, be patient. It takes time. The thing you want to do is don't press too hard. If it feels like it's hurting, in fact, then stop the DVD, relax a little bit. We don't want to press ourselves too much and injure ourselves, okay? Now we're going to add another little element. What you were basically playing was called a quarter note. That meant that every time I tapped my foot, with the count being 1, 2, 3, 4, you played a note. Those are quarter notes. 1 note for every time we tap our foot. Now we're going to play eighth notes. Eighth notes are going to be a little quicker. There'll be 2 notes every time we tap our foot. We'll use the same notes on the bass, but it'll just sound a little quicker. So let me play it one time, and then you'll play it along with me. Good. Now, what I'm going to do is, with my right hand, I'm alternating. If that feels too awkward, then just use your index finger on the right hand. Okay, I'm going to count it off again. The count will still be 1, 2, 3, 4, but the eighth notes will be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Ready to try it? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And stop. Now if it feels like it's too fast, you can do this on your own. You pick your own tempo. You might feel like doing it at this tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. That still feels really good. Remember, the important thing on the bass is to groove. Doesn't matter how fast you're playing and how tricky your playing is. The main thing is to keep a nice, steady groove. And as you're developing, you'll be able to play faster if necessary. Okay, so that was pretty good. We'll try another bass line. Another great way to start playing bass lines is to learn the blues. The blues is such an important form of music, and it's a great way to be able to play music with other people. I'm going to start off playing by myself, showing you a basic blues. You're going to play it along with me. It's going to get a little bit more complicated, and then for fun, we're going to play it along with an actual rhythm section so you can see how your bass line works with a band. So the notes we're going to use are going to be open strings. Well, first we're going to use the A string. You remember what that is. Then we're going to use the D string. And we're going to use the E string. Okay, those are the 3 strings we're going to use. Okay, let me show you how to play this blues progression alone, and then I'll stop and then you'll join in with me, okay? First I'm going to start on the A string. Here's my count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. D string, back to the A string, down to the E string, back to the A string. That's a basic blues progression. Try it along with me. I'll count it off and then you play along. 1, 2, 3, 4. D string now. A string. E string. Back to the A string. Good. Believe it or not, you just played a complete form of a song. That's really good. Now we're going to take it to the next level. We'll play this with a little bit of a bounce or a shuffle feel. What that means is, instead of just playing the quarter notes, I'm going to add another little note. So it'll sound like this. Play that rhythm along with me just on the A string, just to get the feel of it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Now, if you've got that feel, let's move along to actually playing the blues progression with the little shuffle or bounce feel. I'll count it off again. We're going to start on the A string. We're going to play together right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. D string. A string, E string, back to the A string, all right, you're grooving now. Let's bring a band into the picture to see what it feels like. This is cool because not only you get a chance to do it now, but hey, you might have a little jam session or be able to play with some other guys. This is a universal language, this blues. Everybody knows this blues progression. It's a great way to actually make music with other people. So let's try it. Going to the D string now. Back to the A string. E string, A string. Let's do that one more time. A string, D string, A string, going down to the E string, A string, very good. Let's take that same blues progression and add some other variations to it. I'm going to come up with a slightly more interesting bass line. It's going to involve the left hand a little bit more and just give you another little feel to it. We'll do two variations of this bass line. One will be with quarter notes, the other one will be with the bounce or the shuffle. Now the first finger that we're going to use is the second finger. You'll place it on the E string at the 5th fret. That's A. Then take your first finger, put it on the 4th fret of the next string. Then you're going to take the 4th finger or the pinky and then move that to the 7th fret of that next string or the A string. So the three notes that you're using for this bass line should sound like this. And then we'll come back to the index finger. second finger, first finger, fourth finger, first finger, using just the E and the A strings. If you've got that, let's move on. Second finger now on the A string at the 5th fret. Next string, first finger. And then the 4th finger. Back to the 1st finger. Play that again. And let's go back to the E string and play those notes that we started with. Now we're going to move down to the 7th fret on the A string. You're going to slide your hand down to where the second finger is now going to play that note that's at the 7th fret. Next string, first finger, 4th finger, back to the 1st finger. Now back home again to the 5th fret on the E string. Now this is a pattern. You'll find a lot of patterns as you're playing bass lines and as you're learning bass lines. Patterns are basically shapes that will move around to different areas of the bass. This particular pattern is moving over a blues progression. Now we're going to use the same backing track that we used earlier to play this blues progression or this blues bass line. You ready to try it? I'll call out the strings that you're going to go to, and you just make your second finger go to that string. Here we go. Go to the A string now. Back to the E string. Move up to the 7th fret on the A string. All right. Back to the E string. Stay there. Go to the A string. Back to the E string. Up to the 7th fret on the A string. Back to the E string. Great, we're moving along, getting just a little bit more advanced as we go. Let's try one more thing. We'll try the shuffle feel using the same fingers of the left hand, but now we're going to do the bounce with the right hand. Remember, the bounce goes like this. Either with 2 fingers or 1 finger of the right hand. You take that same rhythm and apply it to the 3 notes in the left hand. Good. Let's get into some scales. Let's start with the major scale. This is the building block from which other scales are developed, and the major scale that we're going to be playing is the C major scale. Now, in order to find C, we're going to go to the A string and go up to the 3rd fret. There's your C. I'm going to use the 2nd finger to play this note. Then use the 4th finger on the 5th fret. Now we'll go over to the next string, the D string, and on the 2nd fret, use your 1st finger. 3rd fret, 2nd finger. 5th fret, 4th finger. Now go over to the G string, and on the 2nd fret, use your 1st finger. 4th fret, 3rd finger. And finally, 5th fret, 4th finger. You just played the C major scale. Let's do it again. You know the fingers to use. It's going to be 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. See what that feels like on the neck. You got that little combination of fingerings? Okay, here we go. Starting on C, second finger, third fret. Fourth finger. Next string, first finger. Second finger. Fourth finger. Next string, first finger. Third finger. Fourth finger. Great. This scale actually has 7 notes. But you notice that when we play it, we're hearing 8 notes. That's because when you get to the final note of the scale, it's actually the same as the first note. Those notes are just an octave apart. It's the same note. This is a C, and that's a C. That's your C major scale. Let's talk minor scale now. There's a particular minor scale that I'm going to teach you which is called the natural minor scale. It has a different sound than the major scale. We're going to start on the E string, find the 5th fret, and play that note with your first finger. Go to the 7th fret, play it with your 3rd finger, same string. Next fret, 4th finger. Now move over to the next string, the A string, 5th fret, 1st finger. 7th fret, 3rd finger. Now add in the 4th finger. Go to the next string, 5th fret, 1st finger. 3rd finger. And that's the last note. Once again, it's an octave. We started on the note A, and we ended on the note A. Same note, just in a different register or different octave. Let's play it again. Now, the pattern that you're using finger-wise is 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3. 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3. Got it? Let's do it together. We'll do it with a rhythm this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3rd finger. 4th finger. Next string, 1st finger. 3rd finger. 4th finger. Next string, 1st finger. And 3rd finger. Very good. Another really useful scale that's related to the minor scale is a pentatonic scale. Pentatonic scale has 5 notes, and it's used a lot in rock and blues, jazz. A lot of music you can use pentatonic scale to create bass lines. You can use it for solos. A very useful scale. We'll go to the same position that we learned for the natural minor, and I'll show you the pentatonic scale. So first find the 5th fret on the E string, and you play that note with your 1st finger. Now you're going to skip over the note you played for the natural minor scale, and instead use your 4th finger. Go to the next string, 1st finger. 3rd finger. Next string, 1st finger. The last note is 3rd finger. It sounds like this when you put it all together. Probably sounds familiar to you. Now there's another scale closely related to that, that uses an additional note. It uses what we call a blue note. So it adds one more note, and I'll show you what that note is. Let's start again. 5th fret, 1st finger. 4th finger. 1st finger. Now we're going to add in the 2nd finger. 3rd finger. 1st finger, next string. 3rd finger. That's called the blues scale, which is really closely related to the minor pentatonic scale. Sounds like this when you put all the notes together. Once again, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? One of the great things about this instrument that we play is that the patterns that you play are movable. The scales, you can start in different places. And the patterns that I'm showing you, or bass lines that I was showing you, you can move in different places. And the really cool thing is that if you're playing with a guitar player, your 4 strings here correspond with the bottom 4 strings of the guitar. So if you know the starting point of your guitar, if he's playing, say, a major chord, you can play the notes in an A major scale, and you'll be in the same territory. Now I want to share with you some tips and ideas that I have about playing the bass. And one of the most important things is to try to get out and develop relationships with other musicians, meaning in bands or jam sessions or maybe another guy down the block from you who you can play with. I think one of the best ways that you can grow as a musician, no matter what level you're on, is to play with other live musicians. I mean, playing along with records is great, and practicing alone is great, but you should also get out and share what you know and share your ideas with other musicians, and you learn a lot. The second thing that I want to talk about is practice. Practice should be fun, but it also should be disciplined. What I mean by that is, don't get too bored by your practice or so bored that you leave your practice early. Try to spend a good amount of time, however much time you have. It's important, if you only have 15 minutes, make it a dedicated 15 minutes. If you have a half an hour, make it a serious half an hour of practice. And remember that while you're practicing, that repetition is the key to learning any kind of skill or concept. Don't be ashamed to do it over and over and over again. The more you do it, the more it'll get into your muscle memory, and you'll really have it internally, whatever the thing is that you're learning at the time. The other thing I want to share with you is about the role of the bass itself. Of course, the bass is my favorite instrument. The bass propels a band. It is the underpinning, the foundation for the groove and for the entire band. So we kind of move the music along, we set the harmony, and we really help establish the groove. So it's an important role. You'll hear a lot of fantastic bass players as you're listening to music, some guys who are phenomenal in terms of their technique. But remember, as you're just getting started, that there's nothing wrong with technique, but your primary role or your primary focus should be holding down the bottom, keeping a nice, fat, tight groove. My personal feeling is that you should always have a great time when you're playing music. There's nothing more enjoyable. Always remember to have fun no matter how hard you're working on improving your musicianship. I'm going to show you what I was doing just there in order to have a good time. It's called the slap technique. It's one of the funkiest things you can do on the bass, so I'm going to show you how we do that right now. First of all, the key is using the thumb, and you want to strike the string somewhere between the tip of the thumb and the joint here. And you're going to hit the string and let the string bounce off the fretboard. Try to get a nice solid sound. It's going to take a few tries at first, but it's actually called slap because you're actually slapping the string. Be careful not to let your thumb kind of lag and lay on the string. It's a strike, your thumb bounces off the string bounces off the fretboard. Now the movement that I use, there are a lot of different ways to do it. The movement that I use actually involves just rotating your forearm. So you've got your thumb kind of straight up in the air, you're making a fist, and your forearm is rotating. I found that this way works for me because it doesn't require a lot of movement. What I'm doing with the left hand is because I'm playing an open E, I'm touching the string after I play the note. That's called muting. It's called muting with the left hand. So if I don't mute, it sounds like this. If I mute, I cut the sound of the string off. Let's try it both ways. I'll count to 4, we'll do 4 notes that just ring out, and then we'll do 4 notes with the muting. That means with the 4 notes that are muting, you're going to play the string with your thumb, then stop the string from ringing with your left hand. Let's try it. First, the open string not muted. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great, great. One other note about the slap, there are various places where you can play the slap technique. I find it's best to find a spot somewhere near the end of the fretboard. Typically that's where you get the best sound. Now the other ingredient to the slap technique is called the pop. Now I showed you how you're going to rotate your forearm like this. Well, if you move your thumb in towards the string and then move it back out, as you're coming back out, you can also pluck with the first finger. I'll show you how to do that. Let's use the E string and the open G string to do the pluck. So put your finger underneath the G string and just pull it. And you're going to pull it in such a way that it snaps back and hits the fretboard. That's what gives you that pop sound. You could also mute that to get a shorter sound. Great. Let's try this little bass line now that I was using in the earlier example. You're going to play the open E, then you're going to play the 3rd fret on the E string, and then the 5th fret on the E string. It's going to sound like this. Try it with me. I'll give you a nice slow count. We'll play it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't get frustrated if it's hard to control the sound or it's a little tricky because you're using your left hand and your right hand together. That will come, trust me. We're going to try, just for you guys who may be a little bit more advanced, we're going to try a quicker version of this with the rhythm section. Here we go. Great. Now what we'll do is we'll add the pop along with that. So that we'll squeeze the pop in at the end of the bass line. try it with me really slow first. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the keys to making this work is keep your movement kind of small at first. You'll see a lot of guys doing all kinds of wild movements. That's fun to watch, but in the beginning, when you're trying to develop this technique, it's not easy to do it that way. So keep your movement small and it'll really be effective. I hope you've enjoyed this DVD. I hope you found it inspirational and informational. I've certainly enjoyed being a part of it. And congratulations once again on your purchase of the Bass Jumpstart. I think it's going to be a great adventure for you. Now, if you have any other questions or information that you need, don't hesitate to go to Ibanez.com. And for information about me, about teaching and gigs and all that sort of stuff, you can go to my personal website, which is GeraldVeasley.com. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you someplace else. Bye-bye.